By simply becoming aware of our habits, we often naturally begin to adjust our behaviors. It's like shining a light into a dark room. Suddenly we can see what's actually there, and that awareness alone can be transformative. For those who find they need additional support in maintaining this awareness, the pointing and calling method can be adapted for personal use. For example, if you're trying to reduce snacking, you might say out loud, "I'm about to eat this cookie, but I don't need it. Eating it will move me further from my health goals." This verbalization brings the action fully into your conscious awareness, creating a moment of pause that allows you to make a more intentional choice. As you become more aware of your habits, you may start to notice the cues that trigger them. These cues, the ping of a notification, the sight of the TV remote, the smell of coffee, often become so familiar that they fade into the background of our awareness. By bringing these cues back into focus, we gain the power to interrupt the habit loop and potentially reshape our responses. It's worth noting that the process of habit change is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid routines. Rather, it's about making consistent, small choices that align with our desired identity and long-term goals. Every action we take is essentially a vote for the type of person we want to become. We don't need to win every vote, but we need to win the majority to see real change. Moreover, habits don't exist in isolation. They're part of complex systems in our lives, often interconnected in ways we might not immediately recognize. Changing one habit can have ripple effects, influencing other behaviors and aspects of our lives. This interconnectedness can work in our favor sometimes. Changing one keystone habit can lead to a cascade of positive changes across various areas of life. As we work on becoming more aware of our habits and shaping them intentionally, it's crucial to approach the process with patience and self-compassion. Habit formation and change take time. Our brains require repeated experiences to forge new neural pathways and strengthen them to the point of automaticity. This process can't be rushed, but it can be guided with consistent effort and awareness. It's also important to consider the broader implications of habit formation beyond individual behavior. Collective habits form the basis of culture, and societal change often involves shifting the habits of many individuals. By understanding and mastering our own habits, we not only improve our personal lives but potentially contribute to positive changes on a larger scale. The journey of habit awareness and change is not always easy. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths about our behaviors and to challenge deeply ingrained patterns. However, the rewards of this process are immense. By bringing our habits into conscious awareness and intentionally shaping them to serve our goals, we gain a powerful tool for personal transformation. Imagine the compound effect of replacing just a few ineffective habits with more beneficial ones. Over time, these small changes can lead to dramatic improvements in our health, productivity, relationships, and overall quality of life. The key is to start small, focus on consistency rather than perfection, and maintain awareness of our behaviors over time. As we become more adept at recognizing and shaping our habits, we may find that this awareness extends beyond individual behaviors to larger patterns in our lives. We might start to notice recurring themes in our relationships, our work, or our emotional responses. This expanded awareness can open up new possibilities for growth and change in all areas of our lives. Furthermore, the skills we develop in habit awareness and modification can be applied to achieving any goal or making any change in our lives. Whether we're aiming to advance in our careers, improve our health, or cultivate better relationships, the ability to intentionally shape our habitual behaviors is a powerful tool. In conclusion, the journey of habit awareness and change is a fundamental aspect of personal growth and self-improvement. By bringing our automatic behaviors into conscious awareness, evaluating their effectiveness, and intentionally shaping them to serve our goals, we gain the power to direct our own evolution. This process requires patience, self-compassion, and consistent effort, but the potential rewards are immense. As we navigate this journey, we're not just changing our routines, we're reshaping our identity and our world. Each small action, each habit we modify, is a step towards becoming the person we aspire to be. In this way, the process of habit change is not just about achieving specific goals, but about continually growing and evolving as individuals. The power of habits lies not just in their ability to automate our behaviors, but in their potential to transform who we are and who we can become. By mastering our habits, we take control of our own destiny, creating the freedom to live life on our own terms and to make a positive impact on the world around us. In the complex tapestry of human behavior, habits play a crucial role in shaping our daily lives and long-term outcomes. Understanding how habits form, persist, and can be changed is essential for personal growth and self-improvement. At the heart of this understanding lies the concept of cue-induced wanting, a phenomenon that explains why breaking bad habits can be so challenging. Cue-induced wanting occurs when an external trigger sparks a compulsive craving to repeat a particular behavior, often a bad habit. This process is constantly at work in our lives, frequently operating below the level of conscious awareness. Research has shown that even incredibly brief exposure to cues associated with addictive behaviors can stimulate the brain's reward pathways and ignite desire. For instance, showing cocaine addicts an image of the drug for just 33 milliseconds too fast for conscious recognition is enough to trigger craving. This insight reveals a fundamental truth about habits. While they can be broken, they are rarely, if ever, completely forgotten. Once the neural pathways associated with a habit are established in the brain, they remain etched there, even if they go unused for extended periods. This persistence of habit-related neural structures explains why resisting temptation through sheer willpower is often an ineffective long-term strategy for behavior change. Maintaining constant vigilance against temptation is exhausting and unsustainable in a world filled with distractions and triggers. While it's possible to overpower temptation in the short term through force of will, this approach is likely to fail over time as our mental resources become depleted. Instead, we must recognize that we are, to a large extent, products of our environment. The contexts in which we live, work, and play exert a powerful influence on our behavior, often more so than our conscious intentions. Given this reality, a more effective approach to eliminating bad habits is to focus on reducing exposure to the cues that trigger them. This strategy involves restructuring our environment to make the stimuli associated with undesirable behaviors less prominent or entirely absent. For example, if smartphone use is interfering with productivity, simply placing the device in another room can significantly reduce the temptation to check it constantly. Similarly, unfollowing social media accounts that provoke feelings of jealousy or inadequacy can help break the cycle of comparison and self-doubt. This approach of environmental modification can be applied to a wide range of habits. Removing a television from the bedroom can curtail excessive late-night viewing. Unsubscribing from tech review newsletters might curb impulsive gadget purchases. Unplugging and storing away gaming consoles after each use can help manage time spent on video games. These simple changes can be surprisingly effective in disrupting ingrained behavior patterns. The power of this method lies in its alignment with the fundamental laws of behavior change. Just as making cues obvious can reinforce positive habits, making them invisible can help extinguish negative ones. By eliminating or reducing the visibility of triggers associated with unwanted behaviors, we can often cause the entire habit to fade away over time. This strategy of environmental optimization represents a more sustainable approach to self-control than relying on willpower alone. Rather than constantly fighting against our desires, we can create contexts that naturally support our goals and values. People who appear to have high levels of self-control often achieve this not through superior willpower, but by structuring their lives to minimize exposure to tempting situations. It's important to recognize that self-control, in the traditional sense of resisting temptation through mental effort, is a limited resource. It may be effective for occasional challenges, but it's not a reliable long-term solution for significant behavior change. Instead of repeatedly summoning the willpower to do the right thing, we're better off investing our energy in creating environments that make good choices easier and bad choices harder. This principle extends beyond individual habits to broader aspects of our lives. The people we associate with, the media we consume, the places we frequent, all of these environmental factors shape our behavior in subtle but powerful ways. By consciously designing our surroundings to support our aspirations, we can harness the power of our environment to work for us rather than against us. Understanding the role of cues and environment in habit formation also sheds light on why some people seem to effortlessly maintain positive habits while others struggle. It's not necessarily a matter of inherent discipline or character, but often a reflection of the different contexts in which people live and work. Creating a positive environment is thus not just a personal matter, but also a social and cultural issue. As we consider strategies for cultivating good habits and breaking bad ones, it's helpful to think in terms of 4 fundamental laws: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. These principles can be applied to reinforce positive behaviors or, when inverted, to discourage negative ones. For establishing good habits, the first step is often simply becoming aware of our current patterns of behavior. This can be achieved through practices like maintaining a habit scorecard, where we write down our daily activities and assess their impact on our goals. Once we have this awareness, we can use techniques like implementation intentions, specific plans that link a desired behavior to a particular time and place to make good habits more likely to occur. Another powerful tool is habit stacking, where we piggyback a new habit onto an existing one. This leverages the strength of our current routines to establish new behaviors. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes. By anchoring the new habit to an established one, we increase the likelihood of follow-through. Making habits attractive is another key principle. This can involve finding ways to associate positive emotions or rewards with the behaviors we want to encourage. Similarly, making habits easy reduces the friction that often prevents us from following through on our intentions. This might involve breaking down larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps, or removing obstacles that make good habits more difficult to perform. Finally, making habits satisfying ensures that we feel rewarded for our efforts, increasing the likelihood that we'll repeat the behavior in the future. This can involve creating a sense of progress or achievement, or finding ways to make the process itself more enjoyable. When it comes to breaking bad habits, we can invert these principles. Making cues invisible, as discussed earlier, is a powerful first step. We can also work to make undesirable behaviors less attractive, perhaps by focusing on their negative consequences or finding healthier alternatives that fulfill the same needs. Making bad habits more difficult to perform, for instance, by adding extra steps or inconveniences, can also be effective. And finally, we can strive to make the outcomes of bad habits less satisfying, perhaps by implementing some form of negative consequence or by vividly imagining the long-term effects of the behavior. It's worth noting that the process of habit change is not always linear or straightforward. Our brains are complex systems shaped by evolution to respond to certain stimuli in ways that may no longer serve us well in modern environments. The work of scientists like Nico Tinbergen has revealed how deeply ingrained some of our responses to environmental cues can be. Tinbergen's experiments with herring gulls and greylag geese demonstrated the power of supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of natural cues that elicit stronger than normal responses. Baby gulls, for instance, were found to peck more vigorously at cardboard beaks with larger or more numerous red spots than at real gull beaks. Similarly, geese would attempt to roll larger, egg-shaped objects into their nests with greater effort than they would expend on actual eggs. These findings have profound implications for understanding human behavior in modern contexts. Just as the animals in Tinbergen's experiments responded more strongly to exaggerated versions of natural stimuli, humans often find themselves powerfully drawn to supernormal stimuli environment. Junk food, with its heightened flavors and carefully engineered combinations of salt, sugar, and fat, is a prime example of this phenomenon. Our brains, shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution in environments where calories were scarce and hard to come by, are primed to seek out and consume energy-dense foods whenever they're available. In our ancestral past, this drive served us well, helping to ensure survival in uncertain conditions. Today, however, in an environment of abundance, these same instincts can lead us astray, driving overconsumption and contributing to health problems. This mismatch between our evolutionary programming and our current environment extends beyond food to many other aspects of modern life. The instant gratification offered by social media, the immersive experiences provided by video games, the constant stream of novel information available at our fingertips, all of these can be seen as supernormal stimuli that hijack our reward systems in ways our ancestors never had to contend with. Understanding these dynamics can help us approach habit change with greater compassion for ourselves and others. It's not a matter of weak will or moral failing when we struggle with bad habits. We're often fighting against deeply ingrained instincts that served our species well for millennia but may be maladaptive in our current context. At the same time, this understanding empowers us to take more effective action. By recognizing the power of environmental cues and the limitations of willpower, we can focus our efforts on creating contexts that support our goals rather than undermine them. We can design our physical and digital spaces to minimize exposure to tempting stimuli and maximize exposure to cues that trigger positive behaviors. Moreover, we can work to create new, healthier supernormal stimuli that satisfy our innate drives in more beneficial ways. For instance, we might seek out activities that provide the novelty and excitement our brains crave, but in forms that contribute to our well-being rather than detract from it. Engaging hobbies, challenging physical activities, or immersive learning experiences can all provide the kind of stimulation our brains seek, without the negative consequences associated with many modern sources of supernormal stimuli. In conclusion, the journey of habit change is a complex but fascinating one, deeply rooted in our evolutionary history and profoundly influenced by our modern environment. By understanding the mechanisms behind habit formation and persistence, we can develop more effective strategies for personal growth and self-improvement. The key lies not in heroic feats of willpower, but in thoughtful design of our environments and routines to align with our goals and values. Through this approach, we can harness the power of our habits to create lasting positive change in our lives. The intricate relationship between human behavior, habit formation, and the food industry reveals fascinating insights into the nature of desire and consumption in our modern world. At the heart of this relationship lies the powerful influence of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in motivation, reward, and habit formation. The food science industry has harnessed our biological predispositions to create products that are irresistibly attractive to consumers. By manipulating factors such as texture, flavor, and sensory experience, food scientists have developed techniques to make processed foods exceptionally appealing. The concept of dynamic contrast. In food, the combination of different sensations like crunchiness and creaminess keeps our brains engaged and interested, encouraging continued consumption beyond the point of satiety. This optimization of food products extends to finding the perfect bliss point, a precise balance of salt, sugar, and fat that maximizes palatability and appeal. The result is a category of hyper-palatable foods that effectively hijack our reward systems, leading to overconsumption and potentially contributing to issues like obesity and related health problems. The power of these engineered foods lies in their ability to trigger dopamine release in our brains. Dopamine, once thought to be primarily associated with pleasure, is now understood to play a complex role in motivation, learning, and anticipation of rewards. Crucially, dopamine is released not just when we experience pleasure, but also when we anticipate it. This anticipatory aspect of dopamine release is key to understanding why certain habits, including those related to food consumption, can become so deeply ingrained and difficult to break. The dopamine-driven feedback loop that underlies habit formation extends far beyond food. In our modern society, we are surrounded by highly engineered versions of reality that are more attractive and stimulating than anything our ancestors encountered. From carefully crafted advertisements to the instant gratification of social media likes, these supernormal stimuli exploit our natural inclinations and drive us towards excessive behaviors in shopping, social media use, and various forms of entertainment. The trend towards more concentrated rewards and more enticing stimuli is likely to continue, presenting ever greater challenges to our ability to regulate our behavior and make healthy choices. Junk food, hard liquor, and video games are all examples of how natural rewards have been concentrated and amplified in ways that make them particularly hard to resist. Understanding the role of dopamine in craving and habit formation provides valuable insights for those seeking to change their behavior or break undesirable habits. The key realization is that it's the anticipation of reward, not necessarily the reward itself, that drives much of our behavior. This explains why the excitement of planning a vacation can sometimes exceed the enjoyment of the trip itself, or why the anticipation of a special event can be more thrilling than the event itself. This knowledge can be leveraged to make positive habits more attractive and thus more likely to stick. By finding ways to increase the anticipation of rewards associated with beneficial behaviors, we can harness the power of our dopamine system to work in our favor. Similarly, understanding the role of environmental cues in triggering cravings can help us design our surroundings to support our goals rather than undermine them. The challenge we face is significant. Our brains, evolved in an environment of scarcity, are now confronted with abundance and hyperstimulation at every turn. The very mechanisms that once ensured our survival, like the drive to consume calorie-dense foods, can now lead us astray in a world of plenty. However, by understanding these mechanisms, we gain the power to make informed choices and design strategies to align our behavior with our long-term goals and values. As we navigate this landscape of engineered experiences and supernormal stimuli, it's crucial to maintain awareness of how our environments and choices are shaping our habits. By consciously designing our surroundings and routines to support positive behaviors, we can work with our dopamine systems rather than against them. This might involve creating rewarding rituals around healthy activities, finding ways to make beneficial habits more immediately gratifying, or structuring our environments to minimize exposure to tempting cues. Moreover, this understanding calls for a broader societal conversation about the ethics of designing products and experiences that exploit our psychological vulnerabilities. As our ability to create irresistible stimuli grows, so too does our responsibility to consider the long-term impacts on individual and public health. In conclusion, the interplay between our ancient reward systems and our modern, engineered environment presents both challenges and opportunities. By deepening our understanding of the dopamine-driven processes underlying habit formation and craving, we equip ourselves with powerful tools for personal growth and societal progress. The key lies in harnessing these insights to create environments and habits that support our well-being, while remaining mindful of the potent forces shaping our desires and behaviors in the modern world. In our modern world, we find ourselves surrounded by an array of products and experiences meticulously designed to captivate our attention and spark our desires. At the forefront of this phenomenon is the food industry, where science and consumer psychology intersect to create irresistible edibles that keep us coming back for more. But this is just the tip of the iceberg in a society increasingly shaped by supernormal stimuli and engineered experiences that exploit our deepest biological drives. The food science industry has elevated the creation of appealing products to an art form, investing millions in research to perfect every aspect of the eating experience. From the satisfying crunch of a potato chip to the fizz of a soda, no detail is too small to escape scrutiny. The concept of oral sensation, how a food feels in your mouth, has become a key focus, with entire departments dedicated to optimizing this sensory experience. Consider the humble French fry, a seemingly simple food that embodies this approach. Its appeal lies in the contrast between its crispy exterior and soft interior, a combination that lights up our pleasure centers with each bite. This principle of dynamic contrast is a powerful tool in the food scientist's arsenal, creating products that offer a variety of sensations in a single item. The gooey cheese atop a crisp pizza crust, or the interplay between a crunchy cookie and its creamy filling, are prime examples of this strategy in action. These techniques serve a singular purpose to keep us engaged and eating long past the point where we might normally feel satisfied. Natural, unprocessed foods tend to become less appealing as we consume them, a phenomenon known as sensory-specific satiety. Your brain gradually loses interest in the repetitive sensations, signaling that it's time to stop eating. However, foods high in dynamic contrast circumvent this natural mechanism, maintaining novelty and interest bite after bite. The ultimate goal of this scientific approach to food design is to find the bliss point, that perfect balance of salt, sugar, and fat that makes a product irresistible to the human palate. This combination triggers a powerful response in our brains, overriding natural satiety signals and encouraging overconsumption. The result is a category of hyperpalatable foods that are incredibly attractive to our reward systems, often leading to overeating and associated health issues. But the implications of this approach extend far beyond the realm of nutrition. The principle at work here, making something more attractive to increase the likelihood of repeated engagement, is a fundamental aspect of habit formation. In essence, the food industry has become adept at creating habit-forming products by exploiting our natural tendencies and biological drives. This phenomenon is not limited to food. Our modern society is replete with examples of engineered experiences designed to be more appealing than anything our ancestors encountered. Retail stores use mannequins with exaggerated features to sell clothing, tapping into our instinctive responses to certain body shapes. Social media platforms have perfected the art of delivering rapid-fire positive reinforcement, providing more likes and praise in a few minutes than we might receive in days of real-world interaction. The world of online entertainment offers perhaps the most striking examples of this trend. Pornography sites present a constant stream of novel, highly stimulating content at a pace impossible to replicate in real life. Video games offer immersive experiences that can be more engaging than many real-world activities. Even advertisements have become highly sophisticated, using ideal lighting, professional makeup, and digital editing to create images that are more attractive than reality. These are all examples of supernormal stimuli, artificial constructs that exaggerate the features we're naturally attracted to, eliciting a stronger response than we would have to natural stimuli. Our instincts, honed over millennia of evolution, are ill-equipped to handle these intensified versions of reality. As a result, we often find ourselves drawn into excessive behaviors, whether it's overeating, compulsive shopping, social media addiction, or other habits that can be detrimental to our well-being. The trend towards more concentrated rewards and more enticing stimuli shows no signs of slowing down. If anything, history suggests that future opportunities for gratification will be even more attractive than those available today. We can see this pattern in the evolution of various products and experiences. Junk food offers a more concentrated form of calories than natural foods. Hard liquor provides a more potent dose of alcohol than beer. Video games present a more immersive and stimulating form of play than traditional board games. This intensification of experience poses a significant challenge to our ability to regulate our behavior and make healthy choices. We find ourselves equipped with brains that evolved in an environment of scarcity, now faced with abundance and hyperstimulation at every turn. The very mechanisms that once ensured our survival, like the drive to consume calorie-dense foods when available, can now lead us astray in a world of plenty. To understand why these engineered experiences are so powerful, we need to delve into the neuroscience of habit formation and craving. At the heart of this process is dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in motivation, reward, and learning. For many years, scientists believed that dopamine was primarily associated with pleasure. However, more recent research has revealed that its role is far more complex and central to a wide range of neurological processes. Dopamine is involved not just in experiencing pleasure, but in motivation, learning and memory, punishment and aversion, and even voluntary movement. The key insight when it comes to habit formation is that dopamine is released not only when we experience a reward, but also when we anticipate one. This anticipatory aspect of dopamine release is crucial to understanding why certain behaviors become habitual and why breaking bad habits can be so challenging. Experiments with animals have provided striking demonstrations of dopamine's power. When researchers blocked dopamine release in rats, the animals lost all motivation, refusing to eat, drink, or engage in any goal-directed behavior. They quite literally lost the will to live. Conversely, when scientists flooded the reward centers of animal brains with dopamine, the subjects engaged in repetitive behaviors at an astonishing rate, such as mice poking their noses into a box hundreds of times per hour in pursuit of a dopamine hit. Human behavior shows similar patterns, albeit in more complex forms. Gambling addicts experience a surge of dopamine just before placing a bet, not after winning. Cocaine users get a dopamine spike at the sight of the drug, before actually consuming it. This anticipatory release of dopamine is what drives us to action, creating the motivation to pursue rewards. This understanding of dopamine's role helps explain why the anticipation of an experience can often be more enjoyable than the experience itself. The excitement of planning a vacation or looking forward to a special event can surpass the actual pleasure of the moment when it arrives. Scientists describe this as the difference between wanting and liking two related but distinct processes in the brain. The implications of this dopamine-driven feedback loop are profound for our understanding of habit formation and behavior change. Every highly habit-forming behavior, from drug use to social media browsing, is associated with elevated levels of dopamine. Even our most basic habitual behaviors, like eating, drinking, and social interaction, operate on this same principle. Recognizing the power of anticipation in driving behavior provides valuable insights for those seeking to change their habits or cultivate new ones. Rather than relying solely on willpower to resist temptation, we can focus on manipulating our environment and routines to make desirable behaviors more attractive and undesirable ones less so. For instance, if we want to establish a habit of regular exercise, we might focus on creating positive anticipation around the activity. This could involve planning enjoyable routes for runs, choosing workout music that excites us, or rewarding ourselves with a pleasant post-workout ritual. By associating the anticipation of exercise with positive feelings, we can harness our dopamine system to reinforce the habit. Conversely, to break a bad habit, we might focus on reducing the anticipatory pleasure associated with it. This could involve removing cues from our environment that trigger cravings, or consciously focusing on the negative consequences of the behavior rather than its short-term rewards. However, it's important to recognize that we're not just passive recipients of our environment's influences. We have the power to consciously design our surroundings and routines in ways that support our goals. This might involve creating physical spaces that encourage productive behaviors, carefully curating our digital environments to minimize exposure to addictive content, or structuring our daily schedules to prioritize activities that align with our long-term aspirations. Moreover, understanding the role of dopamine and anticipation in driving behavior can help us develop more compassion for ourselves and others when it comes to struggling with bad habits or addictions. Rather than viewing these challenges as simple matters of willpower or moral failing, we can recognize them as the result of powerful neurological processes shaped by both our biology and our environment. This perspective also raises important questions about the ethics of designing products and experiences that exploit these psychological vulnerabilities. As our ability to create irresistible stimuli grows, so too does our responsibility to consider the long-term impacts on individual and public health. There's a need for broader societal conversations about how we can balance innovation and consumer appeal with ethical considerations and public well-being. In conclusion, the intricate dance between our ancient reward systems and our modern, engineered environment presents both challenges and opportunities. By deepening our understanding of the dopamine-driven processes underlying habit formation and craving, we equip ourselves with powerful tools for personal growth and societal progress. The key lies in harnessing these insights to create environments and habits that support our well-being, while remaining mindful of the potent forces shaping our desires and behaviors in the modern world. As we navigate this landscape of supernormal stimuli and carefully crafted experiences, maintaining awareness of how our choices and surroundings influence our habits becomes crucial. By consciously designing our environments and routines to support positive behaviors, we can work with our dopamine systems rather than against them. This might involve creating rewarding rituals around healthy activities, finding ways to make beneficial habits more immediately gratifying, or structuring our surroundings to minimize exposure to tempting cues. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate all sources of pleasure or to live in denial of our natural drives. Rather, it's to create a balance where we can enjoy the fruits of human ingenuity and progress while maintaining control over our behaviors and staying true to our deeper values and aspirations. By understanding the science behind habit formation and applying these insights thoughtfully, we can cultivate lives rich in meaningful experiences and sustainable pleasures, rather than being driven by the fleeting highs of engineered stimuli. In doing so, we reclaim our agency in a world increasingly designed to push our buttons, charting a course towards greater well-being and fulfillment. The intricate dance between our brains and behavior reveals fascinating insights into the nature of habit formation and the power of anticipation. At the heart of this process lies dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a far more complex role than simply signaling pleasure. Understanding how dopamine functions in our brains can provide valuable tools for shaping our habits and improving our lives. When we first encounter a rewarding experience, our brains release dopamine as we enjoy the novel pleasure. However, as we repeat this experience, our clever brains begin to shift the timing of the dopamine release. Instead of spiking when we receive the reward, dopamine now surges in anticipation, immediately after we recognize a cue associated with the pleasurable experience. This shift is the key to habit formation, as it creates a feeling of desire and a craving to take action whenever we encounter the cue. This anticipatory dopamine release explains why the excitement of looking forward to a vacation can sometimes exceed the enjoyment of the trip itself, or why the build-up to a special event often feels more thrilling than the actual moment. Our brains are wired to motivate us through anticipation, pushing us to pursue rewards based on the expectation of pleasure rather than the pleasure itself. Interestingly, once a habit is firmly established, dopamine no longer increases when we experience the expected reward. However, if we encounter a cue and anticipate a reward that doesn't materialize, dopamine levels drop sharply, leading to feelings of disappointment and frustration. This sensitivity to prediction errors helps refine our habits over time, reinforcing behaviors that reliably lead to rewards and discouraging those that don't. The power of anticipation in driving behavior becomes even more apparent when we consider the neural real estate devoted to wanting versus liking. Our brains have significantly more circuitry allocated for desiring rewards than for enjoying them. The wanting centers of the brain are expansive, including regions like the nucleus accumbens ventral tegmental area and portions of the prefrontal cortex. In contrast, the liking centers are much smaller, consisting of scattered hedonic hotspots throughout the brain. This disproportionate allocation of neural resources to wanting over liking underscores the crucial role that desire and anticipation play in motivating our actions. It's not the fleeting moment of pleasure that drives us, but the persistent craving that precedes it. This insight has profound implications for how we approach habit formation and behavior change. Recognizing the power of anticipation, we can employ strategies to make our desired habits more attractive and thus more likely to stick. One such approach is temptation bundling, a clever technique that links an action we want to do with one we need to do. By pairing a necessary but unappealing task with a highly desirable activity, we can leverage our brain's reward system to motivate positive behavior. Consider the story of Ronan Byrne, an engineering student who hacked his stationary bike to only allow Netflix to play while he was pedaling at a certain speed. By bundling the enjoyment of watching his favorite shows with the physical activity he knew he should be doing, Byrne created a powerful incentive for exercise. This ingenious solution not only made his workout more appealing, but also added an element of immediate reward to an otherwise challenging task. Businesses often employ similar strategies on a larger scale. The American broadcasting company ABC masterfully used temptation bundling in promoting their Thursday night television lineup. By encouraging viewers to pair watching their shows with enjoyable activities like drinking wine and eating popcorn, ABC associated their programming with relaxation and indulgence. Over time, this association strengthened, making the habit of tuning in on Thursday nights more attractive to viewers. The effectiveness of temptation bundling is rooted in a psychological principle known as Premack's principle, which states that more probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors. In other words, by linking a desired activity like watching TV with a less appealing but necessary task like exercising, we can condition ourselves to engage in the less enjoyable activity more consistently. This principle can be applied to a wide range of habits. For instance, someone might allow themselves to read gossip magazines only while at the gym, or permit themselves to get a pedicure only while catching up on work emails. The key is to identify activities you genuinely enjoy and use them as rewards for completing necessary but less appealing tasks. To maximize the effectiveness of temptation bundling, it can be combined with habit stacking, another powerful behavior change strategy. Habit stacking involves linking a new habit you want to form with an existing habit you already perform consistently. By creating a formula that pairs a current habit with a needed habit, followed by a wanted habit, you can create a chain of behaviors that reinforces positive change. For example, someone trying to cultivate gratitude and stay informed might adopt the following routine: after I get my morning coffee, I will say one thing I'm grateful for. After I express gratitude, I will read the news. This sequence links an existing habit, getting coffee, with a desired new habit, practicing gratitude, and a rewarding activity, reading the news. The power of this approach lies in its ability to transform necessary but unappealing tasks into gateways to enjoyable activities. Over time, the anticipation of the reward, like checking social media or watching sports highlights, can make the associated necessary task like doing burpees or making sales calls more appealing by association. While temptation bundling and habit stacking are powerful tools, it's important to recognize that they are part of a broader principle making habits more attractive. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarded with supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of reality that are more appealing than anything our ancestors encountered. From junk food engineered to hit the perfect bliss point, of salt, sugar, and fat, to social media platforms designed to deliver constant hits of social validation. These stimuli exploit our brain's reward systems in unprecedented ways. Understanding this landscape of engineered experiences allows us to approach habit formation with greater intentionality. While we may not be able to compete with the intensity of these supernormal stimuli, we can use their principles to enhance the appeal of beneficial habits. By thoughtfully designing our environment and routines, we can create our own heightened versions of reality that make positive behaviors more attractive. For instance, we might create a specially designated, comfortable space for reading to make a daily reading habit more appealing. Or we could invest in high-quality exercise equipment and create an energizing playlist to make workouts more enticing. The goal is to enhance the sensory and emotional experience associated with the habit we want to cultivate. It's crucial to remember that the power of anticipation works both ways. Just as we can use it to reinforce positive habits, unchecked anticipation of unhealthy rewards can lead to destructive behavior patterns. This is particularly evident in addictions, where the anticipation of the drug or behavior becomes all-consuming, driving compulsive actions despite negative consequences. Recognizing the role of anticipation in our behavior also highlights the importance of managing our environment. If we're constantly surrounded by cues that trigger cravings for unhealthy behaviors, we're fighting an uphill battle. By thoughtfully curating our physical and digital spaces to minimize exposure to tempting cues and maximize exposure to cues for positive habits, we can set ourselves up for success. Moreover, understanding the dopamine-driven nature of habit formation can help us be more compassionate with ourselves and others when it comes to struggling with bad habits or addictions. Rather than viewing these challenges as simple matters of willpower or moral failing, we can recognize them as the result of powerful neurological processes shaped by both our biology and our environment. This perspective also raises important ethical questions about the design of products and experiences that exploit these psychological vulnerabilities. As our ability to create irresistible stimuli grows, so too does our responsibility to consider the long-term impacts on individual and public health. There's a need for broader societal conversations about how we can balance innovation and consumer appeal with ethical considerations and public well-being. In conclusion, the science of habit formation reveals that desire, driven by anticipation, is the engine of behavior. By understanding how our brains process rewards and generate cravings, we can develop more effective strategies for cultivating positive habits and breaking negative ones. Techniques like temptation bundling and habit stacking allow us to work with our brain's natural tendencies rather than against them, making the process of behavior change more enjoyable and sustainable. As we navigate a world increasingly filled with supernormal stimuli and engineered experiences, maintaining awareness of how our choices and surroundings influence our habits becomes crucial. By consciously designing our environments and routines to support positive behaviors, we can harness the power of anticipation to drive personal growth and well-being. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate all sources of pleasure or to live in denial of our natural drives. Rather, it's to create a balance where we can enjoy the fruits of human ingenuity and progress while maintaining control over our behaviors and staying true to our deeper values and aspirations. By understanding the science behind habit formation and applying these insights thoughtfully, we can cultivate lives rich in meaningful experiences and sustainable pleasures, rather than being driven by the fleeting highs of engineered stimuli. In doing so, we reclaim our agency in a world increasingly designed to push our buttons, charting a course towards greater well-being and fulfillment. The power to shape our habits and thus our lives lies within our grasp. Armed with knowledge of how our brains work and tools to work with our nature rather than against it, we can embark on a journey of continuous self-improvement and personal growth. The power of environment in shaping human behavior is a fascinating and often underappreciated aspect of personal development. This concept is powerfully illustrated by the story of the Polgar sisters, whose extraordinary achievements in chess demonstrate the profound impact that culture and upbringing can have on skill development and habit formation. Laszlo Polgar, a Hungarian educator, held a controversial belief that genius was not innate but could be cultivated through deliberate practice and the development of good habits. He was so convinced of this idea that he set out to prove it with his own children. Laszlo's experiment began even before his children were born, as he sought a wife who would be willing to participate in his unconventional parenting plan. The Polgar household became a carefully crafted environment dedicated to chess excellence. The children were homeschooled, which was unusual in Hungary at the time, allowing for a focused and immersive education. Chess books and pictures of famous players filled the home, creating a constant visual reminder of their goal. The sisters played against each other regularly and competed in high-level tournaments from a young age. Their parents even maintained meticulous records of every competitor the children faced, demonstrating an extraordinary level of commitment to their development. The results of this experiment were nothing short of remarkable. All three Polgar sisters, Susan, Sophia, and Judith, achieved extraordinary success in chess. Susan, the eldest, was defeating adult players within 6 months of learning the game at age 4. Sophia became a world champion by 14 and later a grandmaster. Judith, The youngest surpassed even her sister's achievements, becoming the youngest grandmaster of all time and holding the title of the world's top-ranked female chess player for an astonishing 27 years. What's particularly intriguing about the Polgar sisters' story is their perspective on their unusual upbringing. Far from viewing their childhood as oppressive or grueling, they describe it as enjoyable and engaging. They loved chess so much that they would even play in secret when they were supposed to be sleeping. This highlights a crucial aspect of habit formation and skill development. When an activity is normalized and celebrated within a culture, it becomes inherently attractive and rewarding. The Polgar sisters' experience exemplifies a broader principle of human behavior. We are profoundly influenced by our social environment. As inherently social creatures, humans have a deep-seated need to belong and fit in with their group. This instinct, which served our ancestors well in tribal societies where isolation could mean death, continues to exert a powerful influence on our behavior today. Our earliest habits are often not chosen but imitated from those around us. We absorb the customs, expectations, and standards of our family, community, and broader society. These social norms act as invisible guides for our behavior, influencing everything from our daily routines to major life decisions. Often we follow these norms without conscious thought or questioning, simply because they feel natural and expected within our cultural context. This tendency to conform to social norms is not inherently negative. In fact, it often doesn't feel like a burden at all, because the desire to belong is so fundamental to human nature. If you grow up in an environment where a particular skill or behavior is highly valued, like chess in the Polgar household, engaging in that activity feels natural and rewarding. Similarly, if you work in a professional environment where everyone dresses in a certain way, you're likely to adopt that style without much resistance. The power of social influence on our habits can be broken down into three main categories: the close, the many, and the powerful. Each of these groups offers opportunities to make our desired habits more attractive and easier to adopt. The influence of close relationships on our habits is particularly strong. We tend to pick up behaviors, attitudes, and even speech patterns from those we spend the most time with. This effect is so pronounced that studies have shown that obesity can spread through social networks, with a person's chances of becoming obese increasing significantly if a close friend becomes obese. The same principle applies to positive habits as well, with weight loss often occurring in pairs within relationships. This proximity effect extends beyond just close friends and family. Our broader social circles, including classmates, co-workers, and community members, also shape our perception of what's normal and attainable. For instance, if you're in an environment where many people are achieving a particular goal, like becoming an astronaut or improving their IQ, those achievements start to seem more feasible and attractive. The power of the many, or the influence of broader social norms, is another crucial factor in habit formation. We naturally want to conform to the behaviors that we see as common or popular within our social groups. This is why trends spread so quickly, and why certain behaviors can become suddenly popular within specific communities. The influence of the powerful, those we admire or aspire to be like, also plays a significant role in shaping our habits. We often emulate the behaviors of successful individuals in our field or society at large, believing that by adopting their habits, we might achieve similar success. Understanding these influences allows us to be more intentional about shaping our environment to support the habits we want to develop. One of the most effective strategies for building better habits is to immerse ourselves in a culture where the desired behavior is the norm. When we see others regularly engaging in the habits we want to adopt, those behaviors seem more achievable and natural. This principle can be applied across various areas of life. If you want to be more physically active, surrounding yourself with fitness enthusiasts can make regular exercise seem like a normal, expected part of daily life. If you aspire to be more creative, immersing yourself in a community of artists or innovators can normalize the habits of regular practice and experimentation. However, it's important to note that this environmental influence works both ways. Just as positive habits can be reinforced by our social surroundings, negative habits can also be perpetuated or exacerbated by the wrong environment. This is why it's crucial to be mindful of the influences we expose ourselves to and to actively seek out environments that support our goals and values. The story of the Polgar sisters also raises interesting questions about the nature vs. nurture debate in talent development. While their achievements certainly demonstrate the power of focus training and a supportive environment, it's worth considering whether they may have had some innate aptitude for chess that was then nurtured to an extraordinary degree. This nuanced view suggests that while environment and practice are crucial, individual differences in natural abilities may also play a role in ultimate achievement. Moreover, the Polgar experiment prompts us to reflect on the ethics and practicality of such intensive, specialized upbringing. While the sisters report positive feelings about their childhood, such an approach might not be suitable or desirable for every family. It's important to balance the cultivation of specific skills with the need for a well-rounded education and personal development. In our modern, interconnected world, the concept of our environment extends beyond our physical surroundings to include our digital spaces as well. The content we consume online, the social media networks we engage with, and the virtual communities we participate in all contribute to shaping our habits and perceptions of normal behavior. This digital influence adds another layer of complexity to the task of curating a supportive environment for positive habit formation. As we navigate the challenge of developing beneficial habits, it's crucial to approach the process with self-compassion and realistic expectations. Changing ingrained behaviors or adopting new ones is rarely a linear or easy process. It often involves setbacks and requires persistent effort. Understanding the powerful role that our social environment plays in this process can help us be more strategic and patient in our approach to personal growth. Furthermore, recognizing the impact of social influence on our habits can foster greater empathy and understanding for others who may be struggling with behavior change. It highlights the fact that individual willpower, while important, is just one factor in a complex web of influences that shape our actions and choices. In conclusion, the story of the Polgar sisters and the broader principles of social influence in habit formation offer valuable insights for anyone seeking personal growth or behavior change. By consciously shaping our environment, both physical and social, to support our desired habits, we can make the process of change more natural and sustainable. Whether we're trying to excel in a specific skill, adopt healthier lifestyle habits, or simply become better versions of ourselves, understanding and leveraging the power of our social context can be a game changer.
As we strive to improve ourselves and our communities, it's worth reflecting on how we can create cultures that normalize and celebrate positive habits. By doing so, we not only enhance our own lives, but also contribute to a ripple effect of positive change in our broader social circles. The Polgar experiment, while extreme, demonstrates the remarkable potential of human beings when immersed in an environment that consistently reinforces and rewards desired behaviors. Ultimately, the key to lasting behavior change may lie not in Herculean feats of willpower, but in the thoughtful curation of our social environments and the cultivation of communities that support our aspirations. By surrounding ourselves with the right influences and normalizing the habits we wish to adopt, we can harness the natural human inclination to conform and belong in service of our personal and collective growth. The power of social influence on our behavior and habits is profound and often underestimated. We are social creatures, constantly looking to our peers, role models, and cultural norms to guide our actions and shape our identities. This tendency is deeply ingrained in human nature and has played a crucial role in our evolution and survival. One of the most effective ways to cultivate lasting change in our lives is to immerse ourselves in a culture where our desired behavior is already the norm. By surrounding ourselves with people who embody the habits and traits we aspire to, we create an environment that naturally encourages and reinforces positive change. Consider the example of someone trying to improve their fitness. Joining a gym can be intimidating for beginners, as they may feel out of place among seasoned athletes. However, imagine a fitness community tailored specifically for self-proclaimed nerds or misfits. In such an environment, newcomers immediately have something in common with other members, perhaps a shared love for science fiction or video games. This common ground creates a sense of belonging, making the process of adopting new fitness habits feel more natural and less daunting. The power of belonging to a tribe cannot be overstated when it comes to sustaining motivation and embedding new habits. When we join a group that aligns with our interests and goals, our personal journey transforms into a collective one. No longer are we struggling alone. Instead, we become part of a community of like-minded individuals all working towards similar objectives. This shift from I to we has a profound impact on our identity and commitment to change. A solitary reader becomes part of a book club, a lone musician joins a band, and an individual cyclist becomes part of a cycling group. The shared identity reinforces and strengthens our personal identity, making it more resilient in the face of challenges and setbacks. It's worth noting that maintaining connections with supportive communities even after achieving initial goals is crucial for long-term success. The friendships and sense of belonging fostered within these groups help to cement new identities and ensure that positive habits persist over time. This is why many people who successfully lose weight or quit smoking find it beneficial to continue attending support group meetings or engaging with their communities long after reaching their primary objectives. The influence of group behavior on individual choices is a well-documented phenomenon in psychology. One classic example is the series of conformity experiments conducted by Solomon Asch in the 1950s. These experiments revealed our startling tendency to doubt our own judgment and conform to group opinion, even when the group is clearly incorrect. In Asch's experiments, participants were asked to perform a simple visual task matching the length of a line to one of 3 comparison lines. Unbeknownst to the actual subject, the other participants were confederates of the experimenter, instructed to unanimously give wrong answers on certain trials. The results were striking. Faced with unanimous opposition, many subjects began to doubt their own perception and conform to the group's incorrect judgments. This tendency to conform to group behavior extends far beyond simple perceptual tasks. In our daily lives, we constantly look to others for cues on how to act, what to buy, where to eat, and countless other decisions. We rely on reviews and ratings to guide our choices, assuming that the wisdom of the crowd will lead us to the best options. While this strategy often serves us well, it can also lead us astray. The pressure to conform to group norms can be so strong that it overrides our individual judgment and even our own best interests. This phenomenon isn't unique to humans. Studies have shown that even chimpanzees will abandon more effective techniques in favor of less efficient methods used by their new group members, simply to fit in. The desire to be accepted by our peers is a powerful motivator, often outweighing the desire to be right or to find the truth. This instinct to conform is deeply rooted in our psychology and has likely played a crucial role in our survival as a species. After all, in many situations throughout human history, going against the group could have dire consequences. However, this tendency can also hold us back from positive change, especially when our desired habits conflict with the norms of our current social group. Changing our behavior in ways that challenge the status quo requires significant effort and courage. It means swimming against the current of our culture and risking social disapproval or exclusion. On the flip side, when our desired changes align with the values and behaviors of our social group, change becomes much more attractive and achievable. This is why finding or creating a supportive community can be such a powerful catalyst for personal growth and transformation. Another crucial aspect of social influence is our tendency to imitate those we perceive as powerful or high status. Throughout history, individuals with greater power and status have typically enjoyed better access to resources, faced fewer survival challenges, and been seen as more desirable mates. As a result, we are naturally drawn to behaviors that earn us respect, approval, and admiration from others. This drive for status and recognition explains our fascination with the habits of highly successful people. We eagerly consume content about the daily routines of CEOs, the workout regimens of athletes, and the productivity hacks of top performers in various fields. By emulating these behaviors, we hope to achieve similar levels of success and recognition. Many of our daily habits are, in fact, imitations of people we admire or envy. We might adopt the communication style of a charismatic leader, the creative techniques of an artist we respect, or the financial strategies of a successful entrepreneur. This imitation isn't necessarily conscious. We often absorb and replicate behaviors subconsciously, especially when they're exhibited by people we look up to. The flip side of this status-seeking behavior is our desire to avoid actions that might lower our social standing. We maintain our homes and appearances not just for personal satisfaction, but also to avoid negative judgments from our neighbors, friends, and family. The constant underlying question, "What will others think of me?" shapes many of our decisions and actions, often without us even realizing it. The power of social influence on habit formation and behavior change is perfectly illustrated by the story of the Polgar sisters, chess prodigies who achieved remarkable success through dedicated practice. While their individual efforts were undoubtedly crucial, the supportive culture created by their parents and the broader chess community played a significant role in sustaining their motivation and commitment over many years. The sisters' dedication to chess was reinforced not just by parental encouragement, but also by the respect and admiration they received from the chess world. Achieving milestones like becoming grandmasters provided external validation and status, further cementing their identities as exceptional chess players. This combination of internal drive and external recognition created a powerful feedback loop that sustained their intense practice regimen for decades. Understanding the profound impact of social influence on our behavior offers valuable insights for anyone seeking to make lasting changes in their life. Rather than relying solely on willpower and individual effort, we can leverage the power of social connections and cultural norms to support our goals. For those looking to adopt new habits or break old ones, finding or creating a supportive community can be transformative. This might involve joining existing groups aligned with our goals, or even starting our own communities centered around shared interests and aspirations. By surrounding ourselves with people who embody the traits and habits we wish to cultivate, we create an environment that naturally encourages and reinforces positive change. It's also worth examining the cultural norms and social influences that shape our current behaviors. Are there aspects of our social environment that are hindering our growth or reinforcing negative habits? Recognizing these influences is the first step towards either changing our environment or developing strategies to resist unhelpful social pressures. At the same time, we should be mindful of our own potential to influence others. As we work towards our goals and adopt positive habits, we may find ourselves becoming role models for those around us. By openly sharing our journeys, struggles, and successes, we can contribute to creating a culture that values growth, resilience, and mutual support. Ultimately, the interplay between individual choice and social influence is complex and multifaceted. While we have the power to make conscious decisions about our behavior, we are also inevitably shaped by the cultural context in which we live. By understanding and harnessing the power of social influence, we can create environments and communities that support our personal growth and help us become the best versions of ourselves. As we navigate the challenges of changing habits and pursuing personal growth, it's crucial to remember that we're not alone in this journey. The very social nature that can sometimes hinder our progress can also be our greatest ally in achieving lasting change. By consciously choosing our social environments, seeking out supportive communities, and being mindful of the cultural forces that shape our behavior, we can harness the power of social influence to drive positive change in our lives and in the world around us. The human tendency to adopt habits that are praised and approved by our culture is a powerful force that shapes our behaviors and identities. This inclination stems from our deep-seated need to belong and fit in with our social groups. Throughout human history, being accepted by the tribe has been crucial for survival, and this evolutionary legacy continues to influence our actions today. We are particularly prone to imitating the habits of three key social groups: the close, our family and friends; the many, our broader community or tribe; and the powerful, those with status and prestige. This pattern of imitation is not arbitrary but serves important social and psychological functions. Our closest relationships, family and friends, have a profound impact on our habits because they are the people we interact with most frequently and whose opinions we value most highly. We often unconsciously adopt the mannerisms, attitudes and behaviors of those closest to us. This can be both beneficial and detrimental, depending on the nature of those habits. For instance, growing up in a family that prioritizes education and intellectual curiosity can instill lifelong learning habits. Conversely, being surrounded by friends who engage in unhealthy behaviors like excessive drinking can normalize and encourage those habits. The influence of the many, our broader social group or community, is equally significant. Humans are inherently social creatures, and we have a strong drive to conform to the norms of our group. This tendency can be so powerful that it often overrides our individual judgment or preferences. As the saying goes, most days we'd rather be wrong with the crowd than be right by ourselves. This phenomenon explains why certain behaviors or trends can spread rapidly through a community, even when they may not be objectively beneficial. Consider the example of fashion trends. Often, these trends are not particularly comfortable or practical, yet they spread widely because of our desire to fit in and be seen as part of the group. The same principle applies to many other areas of life, from the way we speak to the food we eat and the activities we engage in. The habits of the powerful, those with status and prestige, also exert a strong influence on our behavior. We are naturally drawn to emulate those who have achieved success or prominence in society. This is why celebrity endorsements are so effective in marketing, and why we often see trends start among the elite before trickling down to the broader population. If a behavior can earn us approval, respect, and praise, especially from those we admire or aspire to be like, we find it inherently attractive. Understanding these social dynamics is crucial when trying to build better habits or break detrimental ones. One of the most effective strategies for positive change is to join a culture where your desired behavior is already the norm and where you have something in common with the group. This approach leverages our natural tendency to conform and belong, but channels it towards positive outcomes. For example, if you're trying to adopt a healthier lifestyle, joining a community of health enthusiasts who share your interests can be far more effective than trying to go it alone. Not only does this provide you with role models and support, but it also makes the desired behavior feel more natural and attainable. You're no longer swimming against the tide of your social group, but rather going with the flow of a new, supportive community. This principle extends to various areas of personal development. Want to become more entrepreneurial? Surround yourself with startups and small business owners. Trying to cultivate a meditation practice? Join a mindfulness group. The power of social influence can work in your favor when you consciously choose your environment. However, it's important to recognize that the flip side of this social influence can also hold us back. The normal behavior of the tribe often overpowers the desired behavior of the individual. This can make it extremely challenging to break away from unhealthy or unproductive habits if they are deeply ingrained in our social group. Consider the struggle many people face when trying to quit smoking. If all of your friends smoke and social gatherings revolve around this habit, quitting becomes not just a personal challenge but a social one as well. You're not just fighting against a physical addiction, but also against the fear of social exclusion or the loss of shared experiences with your friends. This is where the power of reframing comes into play. As illustrated by the example of Alan Carr's approach to helping smokers quit, Changing the way we perceive a habit can dramatically alter its appeal. By systematically challenging the beliefs and associations we have about a particular behavior, we can reduce its attractiveness and weaken its hold on us. Carr's method involves repeatedly questioning and debunking the perceived benefits of smoking. He encourages smokers to see that they're not actually enjoying cigarettes but rather just feeding an addiction. By reframing smoking as an unattractive and unnecessary behavior, rather than a source of pleasure or stress relief, he helps people break free from the mental trap that keeps them addicted. This approach can be applied to various habits we wish to change. It involves a deep examination of our motivations and a willingness to challenge our existing beliefs. For instance, if you're trying to reduce your social media usage, you might reframe it from being a way to stay connected with friends to being a time-wasting activity that actually makes you feel more isolated. By changing the narrative around the habit, you can make it less appealing and easier to resist. Understanding the root of our cravings is another crucial aspect of habit change. Every behavior we engage in is ultimately driven by deeper, underlying motives. These fundamental drives, such as the need to conserve energy, obtain food and water, find love and reproduce, connect with others, win social acceptance, reduce uncertainty, and achieve status, are hardwired into our biology. Our specific habits are simply modern manifestations of these ancient desires. Social media platforms, for example, tap into our need for social connection and approval. Video games fulfill our drive for achievement and status. Fast food satisfies our instinct to consume high-calorie foods for survival. Recognizing this can be empowering because it allows us to see that there are multiple ways to satisfy these underlying motives. If we can identify healthier or more productive ways to meet these basic needs, we can replace harmful habits with beneficial ones. For instance, if you find yourself constantly checking your phone for social media notifications, recognize that this behavior is driven by a need for social connection and validation. Once you understand this, you can explore alternative ways to meet this need, such as scheduling more face-to-face time with friends or engaging in community activities. It's also crucial to understand the role of prediction in our habits. Our brains are constantly making predictions based on past experiences and environmental cues. These predictions shape our behavior in powerful ways. When we encounter a cue, our brain quickly categorizes it based on past experience and determines the appropriate response. This predictive nature of our behavior explains why breaking habits can be so challenging. Once we've formed a strong association between a cue and a response, our brain automatically predicts that this response is the appropriate action. Changing this requires conscious effort to override these automatic predictions and create new associations. Interestingly, it's not the objective reality of events that determines our behavior, but rather how we interpret these events. Two people can encounter the same situation and react in completely different ways based on their past experiences and the predictions their brains make. This is why changing our mindset and the way we interpret situations can be such a powerful tool for habit change. In conclusion, our habits are deeply influenced by our social environment and our innate human drives. By understanding these influences, we can more effectively shape our behavior. Whether we're trying to break a bad habit or cultivate a good one, strategies like joining supportive communities, reframing our perceptions, addressing underlying motives, and consciously changing our predictions can be powerful tools for personal growth. The journey of habit change is not always easy, but it is ultimately about aligning our behaviors with our true desires and values. By leveraging our understanding of social influence, cognitive reframing, and the predictive nature of our brains, we can create lasting positive changes in our lives. Remember, every habit, good or bad, is ultimately our mind's attempt to solve a problem or meet a need. By finding better solutions to these fundamental human needs, we can create a life filled with habits that truly serve us. The human mind is a remarkable prediction machine, constantly analyzing our environment and making split-second decisions based on past experiences and current cues. This predictive nature of our brain plays a crucial role in shaping our habits and behaviors, often without our conscious awareness. Understanding this process can provide valuable insights into how we can effectively change our habits and improve our lives. At the core of our behavior are cravings, those powerful urges that drive us to act in certain ways. But what exactly is a craving? It's not just a simple desire for a specific object or action. Rather, it's a complex interplay of predictions, emotions, and underlying motives that shape our perception of the world and guide our actions. Consider for a moment how you feel right now. Without consciously thinking about it, you're aware of the temperature around you. If it were to drop slightly, you might not notice or react, but if it plummeted 10 degrees, you'd likely feel cold and reach for a sweater. This seemingly simple reaction is actually a sophisticated process of prediction and response. Your brain is constantly monitoring your environment, making predictions about what different changes might mean for your well-being and prompting you to act when it detects a significant discrepancy between your current state and your desired state. This gap between our current experience and our desired experience is the essence of a craving. It's the feeling that something is missing, the urge to change our internal state. When we feel cold, we crave warmth. When we feel lonely, we crave connection. When we feel stressed, we crave relaxation. These cravings are not just random impulses, but signals from our brain telling us that there's a mismatch between our current state and what it predicts would be a more favorable state. Understanding this process can shed light on why we engage in certain behaviors, even when we know they might not be good for us in the long run. Take the example of social media use. When we scroll through our feeds, what we're really seeking isn't just information or entertainment. We're looking for a change in our emotional state, perhaps a feeling of connection, validation, or distraction from our current worries. The act of checking social media has become associated in our minds with these positive changes in our internal state, which is why it can be so compelling and hard to resist. This understanding also reveals why it can be so challenging to break bad habits or form new, beneficial ones. Our habits, both good and bad, are essentially our mind's attempts to address fundamental human needs and desires. These underlying motives are deeply ingrained in our biology and psychology, shaped by millions of years of evolution. They include basic drives like conserving energy, obtaining food and water, finding love and reproducing, connecting with others, winning social acceptance and approval, reducing uncertainty, and achieving status and prestige. Our specific habits are modern-day manifestations of these ancient desires. Social media taps into our need for social connection and approval. Fast food satisfies our instinct to consume high-calorie foods for survival. Video games fulfill our drive for achievement and status. Recognizing this can be empowering because it allows us to see that there are multiple ways to satisfy these underlying motives. If we can identify healthier or more productive ways to meet these basic needs, we can replace harmful habits with beneficial ones. But how do we go about changing our habits, especially when they're so deeply ingrained? One powerful approach is to reframe how we think about the habits we want to cultivate. Often we approach new habits or challenging tasks with a sense of obligation or dread. We tell ourselves we have to do something, which immediately frames it as an unpleasant chore. But what if we changed that single word? What if, instead of saying we have to do something, we said we get to do it? This simple shift in language can have a profound impact on our mindset and motivation. When we say we get to do something, we're reframing it as an opportunity rather than an obligation. We're focusing on the benefits and privileges associated with the action rather than the difficulties or inconveniences. For example, instead of saying I have to wake up early for work, try saying I get to wake up early for work. This subtle change acknowledges the privilege of having a job in a challenging economy. Instead of I have to cook dinner for my family, try I get to cook dinner for my family, recognizing the blessing of having loved ones to care for and the means to provide meals. This reframing technique can be applied to virtually any habit or task you're trying to cultivate. Exercise becomes an opportunity to build strength and improve health, rather than a grueling chore. Saving money becomes a path to future freedom and opportunities, rather than a restrictive limitation. Meditation transforms from a frustrating struggle against distraction into a chance to practice returning to the present moment. The key is to find the positive aspects of the habit or task and focus on those. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or difficulties, but rather choosing to emphasize the benefits and opportunities. Both perspectives are typically true. Any given task can be both a challenge and an opportunity. By consciously choosing to focus on the positive aspects, we can make the habit more attractive and easier to maintain. Another powerful technique for changing our relationship with habits is to create positive associations through rituals and cues. Our brains are incredibly adept at forming associations between different stimuli and experiences. We can leverage this ability to make challenging habits more appealing. Consider the example of a writer who always puts on headphones before beginning to write. Initially, they might play music to help them focus. Over time, however, they might find that simply putting on the headphones, even without playing any music, helps them enter a focused state. Without realizing it, they've conditioned their brain to associate the act of putting on headphones with increased concentration and productivity. Athletes often use similar techniques to prepare for competition. A baseball player might have a specific stretching and warm-up routine they perform before each game. While this routine serves a physical purpose in preparing the body for action, it also plays a crucial psychological role. By consistently performing the same actions before each game, the athlete creates a strong mental association between the routine and a competitive, focused mindset. Even on days when they don't feel particularly motivated, going through the routine can help shift their mental state into game mode. We can adapt this principle to create motivation rituals for various aspects of our lives. If you want to cultivate a more positive outlook, for instance, you might create a short routine that you perform each time before doing something you genuinely enjoy. This could be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths and smiling. By consistently pairing this action with a positive experience, you can train your brain to associate the routine with feeling good. Once established, you can use this routine as a tool to shift your emotional state when needed, even in situations unrelated to the original context. This technique of creating positive associations can be particularly powerful when trying to establish new habits or break old ones. For example, if you're trying to develop a regular exercise habit, you might create a pre-workout ritual that includes something you genuinely enjoy, like listening to your favorite upbeat song. Over time, your brain will begin to associate the anticipation of exercise with the positive feelings evoked by the music, making it easier to motivate yourself to work out. It's important to note that while these techniques can be highly effective, they're not magic solutions. Changing deeply ingrained habits and thought patterns takes time, consistency, and patience. It's also crucial to remember that our habits, both good and bad, often serve important functions in our lives. Before trying to eliminate a habit, it's worth examining what need or desire it's fulfilling and considering healthier alternatives that might meet the same underlying motive. Moreover, it's essential to approach habit change with self-compassion and realistic expectations. Setbacks and slip-ups are a normal part of the process. Instead of viewing these as failures, try to see them as valuable learning opportunities. Each time you catch yourself falling into an old pattern, you're actually strengthening your awareness and creating an opportunity to make a different choice next time. In conclusion, understanding the predictive nature of our brain and the role of cravings in our behavior provides powerful insights into how we can shape our habits and, by extension, our lives. By reframing our perspective on challenging tasks, creating positive associations, and addressing our fundamental underlying motives in healthier ways, we can make significant strides in personal growth and development. Remember, every habit, whether it seems positive or negative on the surface, is ultimately our mind's attempt to meet a basic human need or desire. By recognizing this, we can approach habit change not as a battle against our nature, but as a process of aligning our behaviors more closely with our true values and long-term well-being. This perspective allows us to work with our brain's natural tendencies rather than against them, making lasting change more achievable and sustainable. As you embark on your journey of habit change, be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories along the way. Each time you make a conscious choice to engage in a beneficial habit or resist an unhelpful one, you're rewiring your brain and moving closer to becoming the person you aspire to be. With persistence, self-reflection, and the right strategies, you have the power to transform your habits and, in turn, transform your life. The journey of personal growth and habit formation is a fascinating exploration of human psychology and neurobiology. At its core, this process is driven by the predictive nature of our brains, which constantly anticipate outcomes based on past experiences and environmental cues. Understanding this mechanism provides valuable insights into how we can effectively shape our behaviors and, by extension, our lives. The foundation of any habit, whether beneficial or detrimental, lies in the predictions our brain makes about the outcomes of our actions. These predictions trigger feelings and emotions that drive us to act in certain ways. For instance, the mere sight of a cigarette might evoke a sense of relaxation in a smoker's mind, prompting them to light up. Conversely, the thought of going for a run might elicit feelings of dread in someone who associates exercise with discomfort. These emotional responses, rooted in our brain's predictions, play a crucial role in determining our habitual behaviors. To create lasting change, we must learn to manipulate these predictions and associated feelings. One effective strategy is to highlight the benefits of avoiding harmful habits, thereby making them less attractive. For example, rather than focusing on the immediate pleasure of smoking, one might emphasize the long-term health benefits of quitting, such as improved lung function, reduced risk of cancer, and increased life expectancy. By consistently reinforcing these positive outcomes, we can gradually shift our brain's predictions and make the habit less appealing. Similarly, we can enhance the attractiveness of beneficial habits by associating them with positive feelings. This can be achieved through a technique known as a motivation ritual. The idea is to pair a challenging habit with something you genuinely enjoy. For instance, if you struggle with regular exercise, you might create a ritual of listening to your favorite podcast or audiobook only during workouts. Over time, your brain will begin to associate physical activity with the pleasure of engaging with content you love, making it easier to maintain the habit. Creating good habits and breaking bad ones requires a systematic approach. Let's explore some practical strategies for each aspect of habit formation, organized around 4 fundamental laws: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. To make a habit obvious, start by becoming aware of your current behaviors. This can be done through a simple exercise called the habit scorecard. Take a few minutes to write down all the habits you perform on a typical day, from waking up to going to bed. This process alone can be eye-opening, revealing patterns you might not have noticed before. Next, use implementation intentions to clearly define when and where you'll perform your new habit. Instead of vaguely deciding to exercise more, create a specific plan. I will go for a 20-minute walk at 7 a.m. in my neighborhood. This clarity eliminates ambiguity and reduces the mental effort required to initiate the habit. Habit stacking is another powerful technique to make new behaviors obvious. It involves linking a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes. By anchoring the new behavior to an established routine, you create a natural cue for the desired action. Lastly, design your environment to support your goals. Make the cues for good habits visible and accessible. If you want to read more, place books in prominent locations around your home. If you're trying to eat healthier, keep nutritious snacks at eye level in your refrigerator. To make a habit attractive, consider using temptation bundling. This involves pairing an action you want to do with one you need to do. For instance, only allowing yourself to watch your favorite TV show while folding laundry can make a tedious chore more appealing. Another powerful strategy is to surround yourself with a culture where your desired behavior is the norm. If you want to adopt a healthier lifestyle, spend time with health-conscious individuals. Their habits and attitudes will naturally influence your own, making the desired behavior feel more attainable and appealing. Making a habit easy is crucial for long-term success. This often involves reducing friction and minimizing the effort required to perform the desired behavior. For example, if you want to start a gym routine, choose a facility that's on your way home from work, reducing the extra effort required to get there. To break bad habits, we can invert these laws. Make the cues for undesirable behaviors invisible by removing them from your environment. Reframe your mindset to highlight the negative aspects of the habit, making it unattractive. Increase the difficulty of performing the bad habit by adding friction. For instance, if you want to reduce social media usage, log out of all your accounts after each use, making it more cumbersome to access them impulsively. While these strategies provide a solid framework for habit formation, it's crucial to remember that the key to mastering any habit lies in repetition, not perfection. This principle is beautifully illustrated by an experiment conducted with photography students. One group was instructed to focus on quantity, producing as many photos as possible, while the other group was told to strive for a single, perfect image. Surprisingly, the quantity group ended up producing the highest quality work. By engaging in frequent practice and experimentation, they honed their skills more effectively than those who were paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection. This lesson applies broadly to habit formation and skill development. Too often we get caught up in finding the optimal approach, spending excessive time planning and strategizing rather than taking action. While preparation has its place, it's easy to use it as a form of procrastination, avoiding the risk of failure or criticism. The distinction between being in motion and taking action is crucial here. Motion involves planning, strategizing, and learning all valuable activities, but ones that don't directly produce results. Action, on the other hand, is behavior that delivers an outcome. Writing an outline for an article is motion, actually writing the article is action. Researching diets is motion, eating a healthy meal is action. To make real progress, we need to prioritize action over motion. This doesn't mean abandoning planning altogether, but rather ensuring that our preparation leads to concrete steps forward. The focus should be on getting repetitions in, not on achieving perfection from the outset. This emphasis on repetition is supported by neuroscience. Every time we repeat an action, the neural pathways associated with that behavior are strengthened through a process called long-term potentiation. This phenomenon, often summarized as neurons that fire together, wire together, explains how habits become ingrained over time. Research has shown remarkable physical changes in the brain resulting from repeated behaviors. Musicians, for instance, develop larger cerebellums, a region critical for physical movements. Mathematicians show increased grey matter in areas associated with computation. Even taxi drivers in London were found to have larger hippocampi, a region involved in spatial memory, compared to non-drivers, with the size correlating with their years of experience. These findings highlight the plasticity of our brains and the power of consistent practice. Each repetition of a habit, no matter how small, contributes to physical changes in our neural structure, making the behavior progressively more automatic. Understanding this process can be incredibly empowering. It means that we have the ability to literally reshape our brains through our actions. Every time we choose to perform a desired habit, we're not just completing a task, we're reinforcing neural pathways that make that behavior more natural and effortless in the future. However, it's important to note that habit formation is not a linear process. The often cited idea that it takes exactly 21 days to form a habit is an oversimplification. The reality is that the time required varies greatly depending on the individual and the complexity of the habit. Some simple behaviors might become automatic relatively quickly, while more complex habits can take months or even years to fully ingrain. This variability underscores the importance of patience and persistence in habit formation. Rather than focusing on an arbitrary timeline, it's more productive to concentrate on consistency. Each repetition, regardless of how small, is a step forward in rewiring your brain. Moreover, it's crucial to approach habit formation with self-compassion. Setbacks and occasional lapses are a normal part of the process. Instead of viewing these as failures, try to see them as valuable learning opportunities. Each time you notice yourself slipping into an old pattern, you're actually strengthening your awareness and creating an opportunity to make a different choice next time. Another valuable insight from neuroscience is the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This means that it's never too late to change your habits or learn new skills. While it's true that certain periods in life, such as childhood and adolescence, are characterized by greater neural plasticity, our brains retain the ability to change and adapt well into adulthood. This understanding can be particularly encouraging for those who feel stuck in long-standing habits or believe they're too old to change. The brain's plasticity means that with consistent effort and the right strategies, significant personal growth is always possible. As you embark on your journey of habit formation, it can be helpful to view the process as an experiment. Approach each new habit with curiosity rather than judgment. What works? What doesn't? How can you tweak your approach to make the habit easier or more enjoyable? This mindset of experimentation can make the process more engaging and less daunting. Remember, too, that small changes can lead to significant results over time. The power of habits lies in their compounding nature. A small improvement of just 1% each day might seem insignificant in the moment, but over the course of a year, it leads to a 37-fold improvement. This principle, often referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains, has been used to great effect in various fields, from sports to business. In conclusion, the journey of habit formation is a fascinating exploration of our brain's capacity for change. By understanding the predictive nature of our minds, leveraging the power of repetition, and employing strategic approaches to make habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, we can effectively reshape our behaviors and, by extension, our lives. The key is to focus on consistency over perfection, action over motion, and to approach the process with patience and self-compassion. Remember that each repetition of a desired habit, no matter how small, is physically changing your brain, making the behavior more automatic over time. Embrace the journey of personal growth with curiosity and optimism. Your brain is an incredibly adaptable organ, capable of remarkable changes throughout your life. By harnessing this plasticity through deliberate habit formation, you have the power to continuously evolve and become the person you aspire to be. The path may not always be easy or straightforward, but with persistence and the right strategies, lasting change is within your reach. The formation of habits is a fascinating intersection of neuroscience, psychology, and human behavior. At its core, habit formation is about the brain's remarkable ability to optimize our actions for efficiency and ease. This process, while often overlooked in our day-to-day lives, plays a crucial role in shaping our behaviors, abilities, and ultimately our lives. One of the most fundamental principles in habit formation is the power of repetition. Each time we perform an action, we're not just completing a task, we're actually rewiring our brains. This process involves the activation and strengthening of specific neural circuits associated with that particular habit. It's a biological manifestation of the old adage, practice makes perfect. Consider the difference between active practice and passive learning. Imagine two groups of photography students. One group spends their time taking hundreds of photos, experimenting with different techniques and learning from their mistakes. The other group focuses on theoretical perfection, discussing and planning the ideal photograph without actually taking many pictures. It's not hard to guess which group will improve more rapidly and significantly. The group engaging in active practice, through sheer repetition, is literally changing their brains with every shot they take. This principle extends far beyond photography. Whether you're learning to play an instrument, mastering a new language, or trying to incorporate a new exercise routine into your life, the key is consistent repetition. It's not about achieving perfection from the start, but rather about putting in the reps, day after day. As we repeat an action, it gradually moves from requiring conscious effort to becoming automatic. This process, known as automaticity, is the holy grail of habit formation. It's the point at which a behavior becomes so ingrained that we can perform it without actively thinking about each step. Think about how you tie your shoelaces or brush your teeth. These are perfect examples of automaticity in action. The journey from conscious effort to automaticity isn't a sudden leap, but rather a gradual progression. Initially, a new habit requires significant mental energy and focus. With each repetition, it becomes slightly easier, requiring less conscious attention. Eventually, after enough practice, the behavior crosses what we might call the habit line, the point at which it becomes more automatic than conscious. This progression challenges a common misconception about habit formation, the idea that it takes a specific number of days to form a new habit. You've probably heard that it takes 21 days or 30 days to form a habit. In reality, the time it takes is far less important than the number of repetitions. A habit performed twice in 30 days is far less likely to stick than one performed 60 times in the same period. The focus on time rather than frequency is a fundamental misunderstanding of how our brains work. Our neural pathways don't care about the passage of time, they care about the number of times a circuit is activated. This is why consistency is so crucial in habit formation. It's not about perfect streaks or arbitrary timelines, but about accumulating repetitions. Understanding this can be incredibly liberating. It shifts our focus from an often arbitrary deadline to the process itself. Instead of getting discouraged if we haven't mastered a habit in 21 days, we can celebrate each repetition as a step towards rewiring our brains. This insight leads us to a crucial principle in habit formation, the law of least effort. This law, deeply ingrained in human nature, states that when faced with similar options, we will naturally gravitate towards the one that requires the least amount of work. Far from being a character flaw, this tendency towards efficiency is a smart evolutionary strategy. Consider the fascinating example of how the shape of continents influenced the spread of agriculture. Crops spread more quickly across Europe and Asia than they did in the Americas, not because of any difference in the farmers' abilities or motivations, but simply because it was easier. The east-west orientation of Eurasia meant that crops could be transported to areas with similar climates more easily than in the north-south oriented Americas, where dramatic climate changes posed significant challenges. This principle of choosing the path of least resistance applies just as much to our personal habits as it does to global agricultural patterns. When we're trying to form a new habit, we're much more likely to succeed if we make it as easy as possible to perform. This isn't laziness, it's working with our brain's natural tendencies rather than against them. For instance, if you're trying to start a habit of daily exercise, you're more likely to succeed with a modest goal of 1 push-up a day than with an ambitious plan of 100 push-ups. The energy barrier to doing 1 push-up is so low that it's hard to find an excuse not to do it. And once you've started, it's often easier to do a few more. On the other hand, the prospect of doing 100 push-ups can be so daunting that you're more likely to skip it entirely on days when you're tired or busy. This principle of making habits as easy as possible to start is incredibly powerful. It's not about lowering your standards or giving up on ambitious goals. Rather, it's about understanding that the hardest part of any habit is often just getting started. By lowering the initial energy requirement, you make it much more likely that you'll take that crucial first step. Moreover, starting small doesn't mean staying small. Once a habit is established, it can be gradually expanded. That one push-up can grow into a full workout routine over time. The key is to make the habit so easy at first that you can't say no. Another powerful strategy in habit formation is environment design. Our surroundings play a much larger role in our behavior than we often realize. By structuring our environment to make good habits easy and bad habits difficult, we can significantly increase our chances of success. For example, if you want to eat healthier, simply placing fruit in a visible, easily accessible place and hiding less healthy snacks can make a big difference. If you want to read more, leaving a book on your bedside table and charging your phone in another room can help. These small environmental tweaks reduce the friction for good habits and increase it for less desirable ones. It's also worth considering the role of technology in habit formation. While often blamed for creating bad habits, technology can be a powerful tool for building good ones when used mindfully. Apps that track habits, send reminders, or gamify the process can provide helpful external cues and motivation. However, it's important to remember that these are tools to support the fundamental process of repetition and ease, not replacements for it. As we strive to form new habits, it's crucial to maintain a balance between challenge and ease. While we want to make habits as easy as possible to start, we also need to ensure they remain engaging and meaningful. A habit that's too easy might not provide the sense of accomplishment or progress that keeps us motivated in the long term. This is where the concept of just manageable difficulty comes in. The idea is to set the bar just high enough to be challenging, but not so high that it becomes discouraging. This sweet spot will vary from person to person and may change over time as you progress. The key is to continually adjust, always staying just at the edge of your comfort zone. It's also important to remember that habit formation is not a linear process. There will be setbacks, days when the habit feels harder than usual, or times when progress seems to plateau. This is normal and doesn't indicate failure. In fact, these challenges are often where the most significant growth occurs. Each time you push through resistance, you're strengthening your habit even more than on the easy days. Patience and self-compassion are crucial throughout this process. Lasting change takes time, and beating yourself up over slip-ups or slow progress is counterproductive. Instead, view each attempt at your habit, successful or not, as valuable data. What made it easier on some days? What made it harder on others? This information can help you refine your approach and make your habit even more robust. Remember, too, that habits don't exist in isolation. They're part of the broader context of your life, interacting with your other behaviors, your environment, and your overall goals. Sometimes, struggling with a particular habit might be a sign that it's not aligned with your broader life direction. It's okay to reassess and adjust your habits as your life and priorities evolve. In conclusion, the key to successful habit formation lies in understanding and working with our brain's natural tendencies. By focusing on consistent repetition rather than arbitrary timelines, making habits as easy as possible to start, designing our environment to support our goals, and maintaining a balance between challenge and achievability, we can effectively rewire our brains and transform our behaviors. The process of habit formation is a powerful tool for personal growth and transformation. It allows us to automate positive behaviors, freeing up mental energy for other tasks and gradually steering our lives in the direction we choose. While it requires patience and persistence, the compounding effects of good habits over time can lead to remarkable changes. As you embark on your own habit formation journey, remember that you're not just trying to change your behavior, you're literally reshaping your brain. Each repetition, no matter how small, is a step towards rewiring your neural pathways. Celebrate these small victories, learn from the setbacks, and trust in the process. With time and consistent effort, you have the power to transform not just your habits, but your entire life. Habits, those seemingly innocuous patterns of behavior, have an outsized impact on our lives. They shape our days, influence our decisions, and ultimately determine the trajectory of our personal and professional journeys. Yet, paradoxically, many of our most pervasive habits require surprisingly little motivation to maintain. Consider how effortlessly we reach for our phones to scroll through social media, check our emails, or binge-watch television shows. These activities consume vast swaths of our time precisely because they demand so little from us. Their convenience is their power. This observation leads us to a crucial insight: every habit, at its core, is an obstacle between us and our desired outcome. When we diet, we're not truly after the act of restricting our food intake, we're seeking the health and appearance benefits that come with it. Meditation isn't about sitting still, it's about achieving a state of calm and mental clarity. Journaling isn't the end goal, clear thinking is. Understanding this distinction is vital because it highlights the friction that exists between our current state and our aspirations. The more difficult a habit is to maintain, the more friction it introduces into our lives. This is why making our positive habits as effortless as possible is crucial for long-term success. By reducing the barriers to entry, we increase the likelihood of following through, even on days when our motivation wanes. It's about creating a path of least resistance towards our goals. However, this emphasis on ease might seem at odds with human achievement. After all, history is replete with examples of individuals accomplishing incredibly challenging feats. From raising children to building businesses to scaling the world's highest peaks, humans have demonstrated time and again their capacity for overcoming immense obstacles. How do we reconcile this with the idea that we're fundamentally lazy creatures? The answer lies in understanding the ebb and flow of human motivation. While we are indeed capable of Herculean efforts, our drive to tackle difficult tasks fluctuates. Some days we feel invincible, ready to take on the world. Other days, the simplest tasks feel insurmountable. It's on these challenging days that having systems and environments optimized for our success becomes crucial. By minimizing friction in our lives, we make it easier for our most motivated, capable selves to emerge and tackle the inevitable challenges life throws our way. This doesn't mean we should only pursue easy tasks. Rather, it suggests that we should strive to make the initial steps of important long-term habits as frictionless as possible. By doing so, we set ourselves up for success in the moments when our willpower is at its lowest. To illustrate this concept, imagine a garden hose with a kink in it. Water can still flow, but it's severely restricted. To increase the flow, you have two options. You can try to force more water through by cranking up the pressure, or you can simply remove the kink. Trying to boost your motivation to stick with a difficult habit is akin to forcing water through a kinked hose. It's possible, but it requires significant effort and creates unnecessary tension. Making your habits simpler and easier, on the other hand, is like straightening out the hose. You're not fighting against resistance, you're eliminating it altogether. One of the most effective strategies for reducing friction in our habits is through thoughtful environment design. This goes beyond simply making cues for our habits more obvious. It involves optimizing our surroundings to make the actions themselves easier to perform. For instance, when choosing where to practice a new habit, it's wise to select a location that's already part of your daily routine. If you're trying to establish a gym habit, choosing a facility that's on your way to work makes it far more likely you'll stop in regularly. It doesn't feel like you're going out of your way because it fits seamlessly into your existing pattern. This principle extends to our homes and workspaces as well. Too often, we attempt to build habits in high-friction environments. We try to adhere to strict diets while dining out with friends, write books in chaotic households, or focus on important work while surrounded by digital distractions. By identifying and eliminating these points of friction, we can dramatically increase our chances of success. The power of reducing friction is well illustrated by the transformation of Japanese manufacturing in the 1970s. Companies embraced the concept of lean production, meticulously examining every aspect of their processes to eliminate waste. This extended to redesigning workspaces so that employees could access tools without unnecessary twisting or turning. The results were remarkable. Japanese factories became more efficient, and their products more reliable than their American counterparts. By 1979, American workers needed 3 times as long to assemble television sets compared to their Japanese counterparts. This strategy of addition by subtraction has profound implications beyond manufacturing. In our personal lives, removing obstacles that drain our time and energy allows us to achieve more with less effort. It's why decluttering can feel so liberating. We're not just organizing our space, we're lightening the cognitive load our environment places on us. The most habit-forming products and services in our modern world excel at eliminating friction from our lives. Meal delivery services remove the need for grocery shopping. Dating apps simplify social introductions. Ride-sharing services make getting across town effortless. Each of these innovations automates, eliminates, or simplifies steps in processes that were once more cumbersome. Successful companies apply this principle rigorously to their product design. They reduce form fields, minimize account creation steps, and provide clear, concise instructions. Even small reductions in friction can have significant impacts. When the British government wanted to increase tax collection rates, they made a simple change. Instead of sending citizens to a web page where they could download a tax form, they provided a direct link to the form itself. This minor adjustment increased response rates from 19.2% to 23.4%, translating to millions in additional tax revenue. The key takeaway is clear: create an environment where doing the right thing is as easy as possible. Much of the challenge in building better habits comes down to finding ways to reduce the friction associated with positive behaviors while increasing the friction associated with negative ones. One intriguing approach to this is the concept of resetting the room as practiced by Oswald Knuckles, an IT developer from Mississippi. After finishing an activity, Knuckles takes a moment to prepare the space for its next use. After watching TV, he returns the remote to its designated spot, arranges the pillows, and folds the blanket. When leaving his car, he disposes of any trash. While waiting for the shower to warm up, he quickly wipes down the toilet. This practice serves a dual purpose. It's not just about cleaning up after the last action, but about reducing friction for the next one. By resetting each space to its optimal state, Knuckles is essentially laying out a welcome mat for his future self. He's making it easier to engage in positive behaviors by ensuring that the environment is always primed and ready. This approach can be applied broadly across various aspects of our lives. For instance, preparing your workout clothes the night before reduces the friction of getting ready for exercise in the morning. Setting out your writing materials or opening your document editor before bed makes it easier to start writing first thing in the day. Clearing your desk at the end of each workday sets the stage for a productive start the next morning. The beauty of this strategy is its simplicity and scalability. Small actions consistently applied can dramatically reshape our environment and, by extension, our behavior. It's a practical application of the idea that our physical space both reflects and influences our mental state. Moreover, the act of resetting our environment can itself become a rewarding habit. It provides a sense of closure to activities, creates a tangible sense of accomplishment, and fosters a mindset of continuous improvement. Over time, this practice can lead to a more organized, intentional way of living that extends far beyond the physical spaces we inhabit. In conclusion, the path to lasting habit change is often more about smart engineering than brute force willpower. By understanding the role of friction in our behaviors, optimizing our environments, and consistently preparing for future actions, we can make significant strides towards our goals with less struggle and more sustainability. This approach acknowledges our human tendencies towards the path of least resistance while harnessing that same tendency to work in our favor.
As we navigate the complexities of modern life, with its myriad distractions and competing priorities, these strategies offer a roadmap for reclaiming our time and energy. They remind us that often, the most profound changes come not from grandiose gestures, but from thoughtful adjustments to our daily routines and surroundings. By making our positive habits more convenient and our negative habits less so, we create an environment that naturally nudges us towards our best selves. Ultimately, this perspective invites us to view our habits not as battles to be won through sheer force of will, but as opportunities for intelligent design. It encourages us to be architects of our own behavior, crafting spaces and routines that align with our deepest aspirations. In doing so, we not only increase our chances of success, but also reduce the mental and emotional toll of constant self-regulation. As we move forward, let's challenge ourselves to look at our habits through this lens of friction and flow. Where can we straighten the hose in our lives? How can we reset our rooms, both literally and figuratively, to prime ourselves for success? By asking these questions and acting on the answers, we open up new possibilities for growth, achievement, and fulfillment. The journey of self-improvement need not be a constant uphill battle. With the right approach, it can be a thoughtfully designed path of gradual, sustainable progress. In the intricate tapestry of human behavior, habits stand out as the threads that weave our daily lives together. These automatic routines, often performed with little conscious thought, shape our experiences and outcomes in profound ways. Understanding the power of habits and learning to harness them effectively can be transformative, leading to increased productivity, better health, and greater overall satisfaction in life. Consider the case of Twyla Tharp, a renowned dancer and choreographer whose success is inextricably linked to her daily rituals. Each morning, without fail, Tharp begins her day by hailing a cab to take her to the gym. This simple act might seem insignificant at first glance, but it serves as the cornerstone of her entire routine. By habitualizing this small action, Tharp has effectively removed any opportunity for hesitation or second-guessing. The moment she steps into the cab, the rest of her morning unfolds almost automatically. This example beautifully illustrates a fundamental principle of habit formation: the power of small, consistent actions. By focusing on the initial step in this case, hailing a cab, Tharp has created a trigger that sets her entire morning routine in motion. The gym workout that follows becomes an inevitable consequence rather than a decision to be made anew each day. The influence of habits on our daily lives is staggering. Research suggests that between 40 to 50% of our actions on any given day are habitual. However, this statistic, impressive as it is, actually understates the true impact of habits on our behavior. Habits don't just account for a large portion of our actions, they also shape the conscious decisions that follow them. Think of habits as the on-ramps to a highway. Once you've merged onto that road, your direction and speed are largely determined. In the same way, our habits often set us on a path that influences our subsequent choices and actions. This is why we might find ourselves sitting through a movie we're not enjoying, continuing to snack well past the point of fullness, or losing track of time on our smartphones. The initial habitual action, turning on the TV, reaching for a snack, or picking up the phone, creates a momentum that's difficult to resist. This cascading effect of habits highlights their true power. While a single habit might only take a few seconds to perform, its influence can extend far beyond that brief moment. A morning habit of meditation, for instance, might only take 10 minutes, but it can set the tone for a calmer, more focused day. Conversely, a habit of checking social media first thing in the morning might lead to hours of distraction and reduced productivity. Understanding this principle allows us to leverage the power of habits to our advantage. By carefully choosing and cultivating positive habits, we can create a domino effect of beneficial behaviors throughout our day. This is where the concept of decisive moments comes into play. Decisive moments are those brief instances where we make choices that have an outsized impact on the course of our day. These are the forks in the road, the points where we decide between actions that align with our goals and those that don't. It's the moment when we choose between cooking a healthy meal or ordering takeout, between going for a run or watching another episode of our favorite show, between starting our work or procrastinating for just 5 more minutes. These moments might seem small and insignificant in isolation, but they stack up over the course of a day, week, month, and year to create vastly different outcomes. The single decision to go to the gym might not make much difference, but when that decision is made consistently over months and years, the cumulative effect is transformative. The power of these decisive moments lies in their ability to set us on different paths. Once we've made the initial choice to put on our running shoes, to open our textbook, to start preparing a healthy meal, the subsequent actions become much easier. It's as if we've created a groove for our behavior to follow, and staying in that groove requires less effort than veering off course. This insight provides us with a powerful strategy for behavior change. Instead of trying to overhaul our entire day at once, we can focus on identifying and optimizing these decisive moments. By creating habits that make the right choice the easy choice at these critical junctures, we can dramatically improve our odds of following through on our intentions. One effective way to do this is through environmental design. By structuring our surroundings to support our desired habits, we can reduce the friction associated with positive behaviors and increase the friction associated with negative ones. This approach recognizes that willpower is a finite resource, and that it's far more effective to change our environment than to rely solely on self-control. For instance, if you want to eat healthier, you might prep fruits and vegetables in advance and keep them easily accessible in your refrigerator. This simple act of preparation makes it more likely that you'll reach for these healthy options when you're hungry. Conversely, you might store less healthy snacks in hard-to-reach places or avoid buying them altogether, increasing the effort required to indulge in them. The same principle can be applied to other areas of life. If you want to read more, keep books visible and within easy reach in your living space. If you want to exercise more consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to reduce your social media usage, remove the apps from your phone or use website blockers on your computer. These environmental tweaks might seem small, but they can have a profound impact on our behavior. By making the desired action the path of least resistance, we harness our natural tendency to gravitate towards easier options. This strategy aligns our environment with our intentions, making it more likely that we'll follow through on our goals, even when our motivation wavers. Another powerful technique for habit formation is the 2-minute rule. This rule suggests that when you're trying to establish a new habit, you should scale it down to an action that takes 2 minutes or less to complete. The idea is to make the habit so easy that you can't say no to it. For example, if your goal is to read more, your 2-minute habit might be to read 1 page each day. If you want to start a journaling practice, commit to writing for just 2 minutes. If you're trying to establish a meditation habit, begin with just 2 minutes of mindful breathing. The beauty of this approach is twofold. First, it makes the habit so easy that you're likely to follow through even on days when you're tired or unmotivated. Second, it gets you over the often challenging hurdle of simply starting. Once you've begun the activity, you'll often find that you continue beyond the 2-minute mark. This strategy recognizes that consistency is more important than intensity when it comes to habit formation. It's better to meditate for 2 minutes every day than to do an hour-long session once a week. The regular repetition of the behavior, no matter how small, helps to solidify the neural pathways associated with the habit, making it increasingly automatic over time. Moreover, the 2-minute rule allows for gradual progression. As the initial 2-minute action becomes habitual, you can slowly expand the duration or complexity of the habit. What starts as 2 minutes of reading might grow into 30 minutes or an hour. A 2-minute journaling habit might evolve into a rich daily writing practice. The key is to focus on establishing the habit loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward rather than on achieving a particular outcome. By making the habit easy to start and consistently repeatable, you create a foundation upon which more substantial behavior change can be built. It's also worth noting that the inverse of this principle can be used to break undesirable habits. If you want to reduce a negative behavior, you can increase the friction associated with it. For instance, if you find yourself watching too much television, you might unplug the TV after each use and store the remote in a drawer. This small increase in effort can be enough to break the automatic nature of the habit and give you a moment to reconsider your choice. Ultimately, the goal is to create an environment and a set of habits that make positive behaviors easy and negative behaviors difficult. This approach recognizes that our willpower is limited and that sustained behavior change is more likely to come from changing our surroundings than from sheer force of will. As we navigate the complexities of modern life with its myriad distractions and competing priorities, understanding and leveraging the power of habits becomes increasingly crucial. By focusing on the small, everyday choices that shape our behavior, we can gradually steer ourselves towards the lives we aspire to lead. This perspective invites us to view our daily routines not as a series of inconsequential actions, but as opportunities to align our behavior with our goals. Every habit, no matter how small, is a vote for the type of person we want to become. When we choose to read a page instead of scrolling through social media, when we opt for a healthy snack instead of junk food, when we decide to meditate for 2 minutes instead of immediately checking our emails, we are casting votes for our ideal selves. The cumulative effect of these small choices can be truly transformative. Over time, these habits shape not just our actions, but our identities. We become readers, healthy eaters, mindful individuals not through single, heroic efforts, but through the consistent repetition of small, positive actions. Moreover, this approach to behavior change is inherently empowering. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of our goals, we can focus on taking small, manageable steps in the right direction. We recognize that every day presents us with numerous opportunities to make choices that align with our aspirations. As we become more attuned to the decisive moments in our days, we can approach them with greater intentionality. We can design our environments and routines to support our goals, making it easier to make positive choices even when our motivation wavers. We can leverage the power of small habits to create momentum towards larger changes. In essence, mastering our habits is about mastering ourselves. It's about recognizing the immense power we have to shape our lives through the small choices we make each day. By understanding the mechanics of habit formation and leveraging principles like environmental design and the 2-minute rule, we can gradually reshape our behaviors and, by extension, our lives. This journey of self-improvement through habit formation is not about achieving perfection or adhering to a rigid set of rules. Rather, it's about creating systems that naturally guide us towards our goals. It's about making the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. It's about harnessing the power of incremental progress to create lasting change. As we embark on this journey, it's important to approach it with patience and self-compassion. Changing ingrained habits takes time, and setbacks are a normal part of the process. The key is to focus on consistency rather than perfection, to celebrate small victories, and to view each day as a new opportunity to align our actions with our intentions. In conclusion, the study of habits offers you a powerful lens through which to view personal growth and behavior change. By understanding the outsized impact of small actions, the importance of decisive moments, and the power of environmental design, we can approach self-improvement in a more strategic and effective way. As we master our habits, we don't just change our behaviors, we change our lives. In the intricate tapestry of human behavior, our daily choices serve as the individual threads that, when woven together, create the fabric of our lives. Among these myriad decisions, certain moments stand out as particularly significant. These are what we might call decisive moments. These pivotal instances, often seemingly small and inconsequential, have the power to shape the course of our day and, by extension, our lives. Consider the simple act of walking into a restaurant. On the surface, it might appear to be a mundane decision, but in reality, it's a decisive moment that sets the stage for what follows. By choosing to enter a particular establishment, you've effectively determined the range of options available for your meal. If you step into a steakhouse, your choices are immediately constrained to what's on their menu. You can order a sirloin or a ribeye, but sushi is off the table. This principle extends far beyond food choices. It applies to virtually every aspect of our lives. These decisive moments